So Craig and Ryan, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Oh, absolutely. So I guess normally we would start out with where you're from and what do you ride, but you're with Clearview Windshield. So let's start with that though. So where do you guys live? What do you ride?
I myself, well, first of all, we're in Colorado, small brewery town, Fort Collins.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I just have to interject that because that's just something that I particularly like to go after. But I ride an Indian Vintage 2014.
Nice.
And then we just recently purchased a 2021 Roadmaster, Indian Roadmaster.
Oh, very nice. That's some serious hardware there.
Yeah. And obviously we did the design work on the Indian Vintage. So we've got some prototypes going on for the Roadmaster. Should have something released probably, in a month or so.
Awesome.
So yeah, excited about that.
Awesome. So Ryan, what do you ride?
So I ride a Triumph Bobber, which we don't currently offer a windshield for, but we will soon, I promise.
Okay.
Maybe like a few months down the road.
Very nice. So
you're simple, cruiser touring bike, but it's a blast. It's a 2017. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. So I guess with the company, Craig, you're the president of the company. That's correct.
Yes.
And and Ryan, you're the vice president. Do I have that right?
Right. Yeah.
Perfect. So I guess the obvious question would be, how did you guys get into this business?
Basically, it was an opportunity that kind of fell in my lap when I was 18. Just literally graduated from high school. Yeah. One of those things that I was looking to figure out what to do with my life, and college was on the table, but I didn't have the funds for it. Parents had some marital problems, so just fell in my lap, and I thought, hey, this might be a good way to fund college, and it ended up being my college. So never look back. So
that's awesome. So this was an existing brand, or did you rebrand it, I assume?
It was an existing business.
Okay.
It started back in 1977. They built little mall patrol windshields for, I think they were running the Yamaha Radian 650s.
Okay.
And the Denver 16th Street Mall Patrol. And so he had this cool little design that he made, and he did maybe about 30 other windshields, and we picked up the brand and expanded it, and just like I said, then it just took off for us. So
wow, that's got to be an amazing challenge. So I guess that was so that's an entrepreneurial. So you were how old? You were right out of high school then?
Yeah, 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you became the president at that point? That's awesome.
Pretty much. Yeah, president owner.
Awesome.
My wife threw a lot of money at it at the beginning, so we really have to thank her for her participation. I met her the same year that I bought the business, so we've been together for 35 years, just like the business has been going for 35.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is the, wow, I can't even imagine beginning a business at that age. That's awesome. Now, where were you as far as your product line then? I assume pretty small.
It was small. The company was used to just obviously doing the Denver Mall Patrol account, and then a handful of dealers that they were dealing with. They never really dealt with the consumer direct.
Okay.
So yeah, very small. I think, we maybe cleared $3,000 a year the first 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And I was considering, looking for something that would be more serious to fund my future life plans. But we picked up Vetter Fairings. Had a fire that damaged their molds and stuff. And I think they kind of dropped out of the business. We became their dealer referral at that point. And so that really expanded our dealer network. And then I, at the same time, was working with writers individually and making windshields kind of custom here and there, and just making them better for them back then, and started to learn what people needed, and just started getting more into the design aspect, and started, making windshields for more and more models as things expanded.
That's awesome. So Ryan, when did you get into the business? At birth? Like were you like 2 and you're working in the shop?
Yeah, I mean,
I shouldn't
kind of
say
just
that
born into
probably.
it, I
Get
think.
somebody in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I worked for them for a very long time. Obviously, growing up, started making motorcycle kits, hardware kits when I was 8 years old.
Cool.
Kind of worked my way up through the business as far as actually fabricating the windshields and getting more involved up until I was probably about 18 when I moved out of the house because I wanted to work in the automotive industry.
Okay.
Went to automotive tech school, and then I graduated and then got into the automotive business. Was in it for about a year and realized it's just not what I wanted. It wasn't. I wasn't making race cars and stuff like that like I wanted to right off the bat. So,
that's no fun.
I kind of missed the business, so I actually sat down with Craig and Tanya and kind of proposed a satellite location that I could run by myself, where I was at Fort Collins. Initially, they were in Pine Junction, so we've been in Fort Collins for Pine Junction, Colorado. We've been in Fort Collins, I think, for almost 6 years now as a business.
Yeah.
But then I wasn't expecting them to, but they said yes. So we found a warehouse in Wellington, Colorado, just north of Fort Collins, and I ran a small area of the business out of there for probably a year and a half, and then they would come down to northern Colorado, quite a bit to check things out, and make sure everything was running smoothly, and they fell in love with the northern Colorado area. So then they decided to move the whole business just to one location here in Fort Collins.
That's awesome.
Did I mention there's breweries down here?
There's a lot of breweries down
I'm
there.
looking up flights. So I'm going to cut this interview short. We should have done this live. That's awesome. So, I mean, not to, just because I'm curious. So I assume, I've always wondered this. So you work in the industry. Does it take away from your riding because you're in the industry, or because it's, is I guess quite the dream that I would think it would be?
I guess for me, it doesn't, as far as like riding motorcycles, it doesn't. Actually getting on the bike. I think I've run into this problem that maybe my mom and dad have, Craig and Tanya had for years of, if you're riding with a group of people or you're around people riding motorcycles and they find out you own a company that manufactures motorcycle windshields.
Oh, I can't imagine.
All your conversations turn into just business stuff instead of maybe just talking about the ride and other things.
Sure.
So in that aspect, yeah, it's changed a little bit for me. But the only other thing would be just, our busiest season is during the summertime, which is riding season. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to go on longer rides.
Okay.
Or, big trips and stuff like that. So.
Now, that being said, with Ryan's entry into the business, that has freed up a little bit more time for Tommy and I to actually consider doing some riding.
Nice.
It's still time intensive for the season, but Ryan does such a good job at managing the company that we've been, doing a few small trips and getting out, but also trying to do a little bit more time on the design work, especially on this new Roadmaster, so.
Sure.
So yeah, it's working out really well.
That's awesome. I mean, Indians seems like they're coming to play. I was a little skeptical as they came back about, is this going to be another, I'm just burnt about victory. I'm not going to lie. I wanted a victory in the worst way, and I hold them responsible. So I have an axe to grind. But that's
the Roadmaster. I tried the Victory Vision, I think it was, back in 2014, the year they came out with the Indian brand. And I was really impressed with how it rode. And quite honestly, the Roadmaster has a lot of the similar riding aspects, I guess you could say, that the Vision had.
Yeah, it's a beautiful bike. I hadn't seen one in person until recently, and I was just like, wow, this is...
Yeah, super cool. A lot of gadgets and stuff I'm still trying to learn on it, but yeah, I can't wait to get the windshield design for it. And we've got the Challenger in the works as well. So
nice.
Yeah, we're excited to get all these. Probably products will be released either this year or spring of next year.
Oh, that's exciting. So if you had a, this is an off the wall question, but do you have a bestseller windshield? Is there like a particular bike that's become that brand, or do they sell? Because I would think in like
Harley,
Harley.
For a brand, yeah. Ryan's right. Harley for sure. Can't really pinpoint a particular model of Shield per se, but
Okay.
we've got a lot of quality, good designs for the Road King, and obviously the limited electric glide, tri guides. I mean, road glides. I don't know. We do them all. We have a pretty diverse line for the new and old Harley Davidsons. So I guess that's probably what makes that brand probably the strongest that we have.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. So
and honestly, Honda too.
Honda, okay.
So a lot of Honda.
Okay.
Definitely.
I think it's a shame that people don't.
Just recently, I'll plug this real quick. I just recently finished the development of the 2018 Honda Goldwing, the newer models.
Oh, nice.
So we now have that. So if anybody wants one of those windshields or try them out, just let us know.
So Big Smitty was on my show a few weeks ago. He just bought a Goldwing, so I'll make sure he knows he has to buy a new windshield. Just
yeah. And again, Ryan's picked up a lot on the design aspect. So he's spent a lot of hours building that windshield and some stuff for Indian. So we're both excited about his involvement in the design and development of new products coming down the pike too.
No, I guess maybe it's a dumb question, but when you design a windshield, like how do you start that process? Is that do you do it all in CAD, I assume, or?
We basically start with acquiring an actual motorcycle and then running prototypes on that bike.
Interesting.
So sometimes it involves customer input, working with a local rider. But when we can actually get the model in-house and work with it on our own time, that's always the best.
Oh, cool. So you're not, so you're doing it all by hand. That's interesting. That's really interesting.
More old school techniques. It definitely works, yeah.
No, I mean, if it's clear that, I mean, your windshields are set apart from, the market for sure. So with 2020, the year that was 2020, how did you have to adjust? I mean, that had to be a huge change for the company with, because I know it seems like everybody went out and bought parts. It seems like.
Yeah, it was interesting because it started at the beginning of the season, March, and you're just totally unsure what's going to happen with this whole thing. Is the market just going to crash? Are we just going to be twiddling our thumbs waiting? And it was actually the opposite. This is probably 2020 was one of our better years. 2021 is even better than that.
That's fantastic.
I wouldn't have predicted that, but I understand some of the dynamics that actually have created that. So, or at least my assumptions, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, it seems like everybody went out and bought motorcycles. I don't know why.
Yeah. Again, all that expendable cash, they're not spending it on restaurants and vacations. They have to get out and be isolated and away from people. So, hey, that's the best way to do it is on a bike. So.
Absolutely. They did the responsible thing. They bought motorcycle parts. I mean, what else can you do with your money that's that responsible?
Yeah. Support the American economy. That's what we all want.
Exactly. So. Right. Smart. Support the small businesses, the bikers. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then 2021, as I mentioned, was still a good year, but brought on some unusual situations that we didn't expect. Kind of like the barriers that were being produced during that whole time frame. Plastic became a rare commodity, hard to get in. So there was a lot of back order scenarios in there. Now we're experiencing back orders with vents. So, I mean, it's all new stuff that we never really run across before, but at least we're, still thriving and doing really well from sales standpoint. So
That's fantastic.
yeah,
That's really cool. Well, Ryan,
You can definitely tell. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, you can definitely tell if everybody's feeling it, like everywhere, even if they're not within the industry. Just getting a hold of some hardware is a nightmare. What used to be 3 weeks lead times is now like 5 months. Just because they're waiting on raw materials to be able to make the hardware for stuff. And yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've known a couple of people that were unfortunate enough to either have their bike break or been involved in an accident. It's like, good luck. You're trying to get parts. It's just insane. It's not something you would think about.
Labor was interesting this year too. We were trying to expand, bring in new fabricators to deal with the expansion. And we couldn't get anyone to come in for an interview. I mean, we had 20 interviews set up. No one showed up. And it's like, geez, come on. So again, another unique situation we've never run across.
Sure.
So it's been interesting, but overall, we're still having a good time.
Good.
So,
well, that's a question. If you're hand making them, is that I guess that's an apprentice sort of situation? Like, how long does it take to learn that skill?
Go for it, Ryan. I think you could probably interject on that.
It really, it kind of depends on the person too. Okay. Some people pick up on the fabrication techniques a little quicker than someone else. Through the whole process of knowing how to make the entire windshield from start to finish, it's probably 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Just getting them trained on everything, moving them through the areas of the fabrication process. And I'd say like 4 or 5 months where they're really good at what they do at that point. But it's definitely a lot of, we haven't cut a lot of practice windshields. They're doing a lot of practice stuff before they even start doing anything with customer orders.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's done in-house. Everything's done by hand. So it's just, all hands-on training, teaching them our techniques of how we figured out how to do it, the best way we can, just in the highest quality to each fabricator.
Okay. I mean,
there's definitely some shortcuts we could take in the fabrication process. Mm-hmm. And we know a lot of our competitors do that, but there's a lot of downsides to some of those processes as well. So that's why we've kind of kept it old school, because we know that it works and it provides a valuable level of quality that you're not going to find anywhere else.
Sure.
And that's long term. It's not just shiny edge when you first get the windshield. It's something that's going to last 80,000, 100,000 miles plus.
Yeah. I mean, I had purchased one of your windshields, the year I first started riding for my KLR, and it was like night and day. I mean, the difference between your windshields versus an OEM windshield is crazy. I mean, just in the thickness of it, you can see that it's built.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we strive for sure.
How long does it take to make a windshield?
You want to go for it, Ryan?
I'm curious.
Are you talking like the design process or just like
not the design process? You take the raw material to make that windshield. How long does that process take?
It'll vary from windshield to windshield. Some windshields have a little more involvement with them, but it's probably, if you're just to make one windshield through the whole process, if you knew what you're doing, it's probably 25, 30 minutes.
Okay.
And that can kind of vary too, just depending on what needs to happen with the windshield. As far as if it needs like a decal or something, or the forming process that it needs.
Okay.
And again, that's not including packaging and shipping. That's just the core production process of the unit. So.
Now, do you feel that old school technique gives you more of liberty to do things? Is that easier, I guess, if you want to make changes by doing it that way, or is it harder? I don't know if that question makes sense, but
yeah, it gives us a lot more flexibility to deal with individual orders, and gives us a lot more variations that we can create for the customer, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Sometimes you get trapped in a process that you need to do, thousands of units to justify it. But we can come in and we can do a slew of different models, make some models in one day, and, ship them out. And I don't know, it just gives us a lot of more control over the options that we can offer up and how we manufacture it. So,
okay. No, that's interesting. Cause so I wasn't sure if that, I would think if you made it by hand, it might be easier because you can kind of work on the fly, but I've never done it. That's why I was just curious. It was,
yeah, there's one thing that's unique also is that we inspect each one before it goes out, and our fab techs are making calls. If there's anything wrong with the windshield, they'll call the customer direct and let them know, give them the option to take the windshield at maybe a reduced price if there's a small imperfection on it. I don't think there's many companies or production-based companies that would actually do that. It's usually a process that doesn't involve the customer during the fabrication. So I don't know. It's hands-on and working directly with the customer at times from the fabrication standpoint. So
how many people do you have on staff?
Ryan?
Well, we got 4 right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're definitely a smaller operation, but we do pretty good number of units a year. Just even having a smaller team.
That's really cool.
But yeah, going back to kind of what you guys are talking about, definitely doing it by hand allows you to do so many different options for customers. Whereas if you're working with a CNC machine, the program will only maybe allow you to do this one size at a time. And you can only, because we can do 20 different variations in a matter of an hour, of different customer windshields and stuff, just the way that we manufacture them.
Oh, that's awesome. So that really does give you a lot of versatility. So,
yeah, no, that being said too, we do volume production for companies that manufacture fairings and stuff too. So we don't just do one individual piece orders all the time. We do hundreds of shields weekly just for dealers, or manufacturers, other manufacturers.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, do any dealers stock your shields?
Yeah, we have some stocking dealers.
You do? Okay.
I mean, it's kind of a thing that's going away. Harley, especially, they've always wanted to kind of carry their own stuff, and they don't seem to want to inventory a lot. I think that's just because of the cost of inventory. But in general, we have a few that will carry a lot of the popular products.
Okay. That's interesting. Because that's, I would think it's one of those things, if you see it hands-on, you can see the difference. But, and I guess that's the point too. Every brand's different and everything has its plus and minus, but what do you think sets your brand away from the competitors? How do you, what makes you unique?
I think it's probably the variety and the quality that we can bring to the table for the customer. And we've always been more of a kind of a windshield tailor, if that makes sense. We always try to take in consideration when I'm talking with people, doing consulting, trying to figure out exactly everything that they're wanting from their ride. And we just try to come in and just kind of fine tune all that to their needs, their body, do they have a passenger, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different variables that come into play. So yeah, I think we're kind of a consulting, design, build it for you type company.
Okay. Because I mean, I know your website has a lot of that information too. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I was going to say, I think it's definitely what Craig was just saying. It's just the amount of options we can give a customer. If we don't have one of our standard heights on our website, that's going to work for you. We can make it custom. And that's another benefit to, making it by hand. We can do custom width, heights, a lot of different variations of what's going to work best for the customer from a performance standpoint, and visually what they really want as well.
Yeah, I think too, it's interesting because there's so many varieties that you can make for one windshield. Like you can get the vent, you can get non-vent, the recurve, the non-recurve, the tint. I think it's really neat that you have that choice. You know, you don't have to keep looking through and scroll and be like, no, it's not that model. It's not that model. It's, you can just find your bike and drill down from it.
Yeah. It's the customization. I think that maybe also sets us apart too. So in all those, not just all the variations we offer, but as Ryan said, just the ability to fine tune and tweak it if you need us to. So,
I mean, I have the GT cut, and I was really surprised at how different it was. Like the ride's completely different from the stock windshield. And it's amazing. Even when you pick it up and being a layperson, you can feel the difference. It's that, it's that much thicker. It's got the recurve. It's a completely different experience. And it's,
and again, I get that a lot. We have a lot of repeat customers over the years. So, brand loyalty, at least within our circles, is high for Clearview. So.
And you have a really strong customer loyalty.
We do appreciate we do appreciate the video that you did for us as well. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a blast. And it was interesting because there was nothing in that was, scripted. It was a completely unique experience. Like I didn't honestly, I knew from the KLR it would be a different experience. I knew the quality was there, but I couldn't. It's hard to understand the difference of the coverage that provides and the back pressure the vent takes off, especially with a passenger. It's crazy how much more relaxed that ride is, when you get the right windshield.
Yeah, and that's probably the toughest thing is trying to get our customers that are new to us to understand everything that we've built in and designed to improve that ride for them. There's so many other approaches, like you said, from other competing companies that want to sell you another things. It's just, to us, it's going to be the value of how quality of a ride we can provide for the customer.
Sure. So. And I think it's nice too,
because we always appreciate too, Chip.
What's that?
Sorry, Bry, I keep talking over you. We always appreciate too, like the customer feedback. It helps us know maybe what we're doing wrong or we could do better. What people are feeling with their windshield, so we can always go back and look at our designs and maybe make changes if we need to too.
Yeah,
I think that's another reason we, made it work over the years is all the customer feedback on everything.
Well, and I think that builds, like you said, that builds brand loyalty, right? Because if I can call you and say, hey, I'm having this issue or can you help me? I feel like there's especially with motorcycles, in any realm of motorcycles, there's that education process of, this is why it's better. You can look at my windshield and you can go, okay, it's a bigger windshield, but but if you explain to somebody what difference it makes, and I know like how you go through the measurements and explain like how to get the windshield to be fitted to you, I think that's huge. And I don't think a lot of people take that into account. They buy a stock windshield and they go, well, it's a windshield, and they don't really think about the difference that windshield can produce.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, there's somebody that they can talk to on the phone. Mm-hmm. Namely, it's going to be me or Ryan. So you're talking with the owners of the company and the guys who designed the products. So it might take a while to get a hold of us, but we'll, get back to you the same day. And I think that's another value, I guess.
Sure. And you also you offer the opportunity to test it on your bike as well, right? As long as you keep it covered. Yeah,
always done that as far back as I can remember. I thought that was very important.
Awesome.
The last thing we want is to have somebody have one of our windshields sitting on a shelf that they, curse at every time they see it. That's the last thing we want. If you don't like it, send it back.
Yeah, I think that's really important too, because you don't know what you don't know. It's and like you said too, it's not, we're all guilty of this. We all have that pile of motorcycle parts we bought, and it seemed like a good idea at the time. But I think that that's really cool because you can try it on your bike and not just say, well, it looks like it'll measure and it'll fit. You can see the difference.
Exactly.
I think that's huge. What so I guess what's the future bring? You mentioned Indian and Goldwing? Is it going to be Can-Am? I don't know. What are you looking to expand that market more?
Well, I would think that's and I obviously we got some more windshields coming out for like the Roadmaster and Challenger, but I think maybe looking into some adventure bikes as well. I think that's going to be a huge market, especially with Harley's Pan America, and then you got Royal Enfield with the Himalaya, and I think Royal Enfield is going to make a dramatic impact on the whole motorcycle industry within the U.S. I mean, it seems like they're now like every other dealership is offering Royal Enfield motorcycles. I think the adventure bike scene.
Have you had a chance to try the Pan America?
I have not.
I have not either.
I sat on one in the dealer, and the guy's like, "Don't do it." He's like, "I was like, I don't want to sit on this because I'm going to want to leave with it." I was like, "No, just I'll spend my money somewhere else. I don't want this."
Well, again, it depends on where you're at too. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to have one of those bikes here in Colorado. There's so many cool non-paved roads that you can take it on. So it's going to be a strong market segment, I think, coming up for the younger motorcycle crowd.
Yeah, and I really think that that's the dynamic that they need to change to, is because there's the touring crowd of you can go anywhere, but that's the thing I liked with my KLR. You didn't wash it; it got washed when it rained, and I'm not out there like polishing the chrome and not worrying about all the other crap.
Exactly.
It's a great market, and I think that it's, to your point, I think that there's definitely a shift in women riders and younger riders that are going to bring a lot of opportunity. And the competition of Indian coming up is great because the Harley needs a kick in the ass. I mean, quite frankly, to sort of just show them, that there's more out there.
Yeah, it's good for everybody, to have strong competition in the industry, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Royal Enfield is going to kind of scared everybody a little bit, all the manufacturers. Because I think their Himalaya comes out, it's $5,000-$6,000 off brand new.
Really? I've never seen one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely check them out if you get a chance. It's a kind of a unique bike, but yeah, they have an adventure bike, and $6,000 brand new. They're kind of cool looking bikes, but yeah, I think they're definitely going to be good for the younger generation who's looking for a little bit lower budget.
Sure.
But still something cool to ride or fun to go out with. If they want to go camping, kind of use it as a dual sport bike.
I mean, I think that I've always thought that it's interesting to see that Harley's going into BMW's territory and Triumph's territory, but then BMW threw out is it the Continental or whatever, the touring bike that they just threw out this week? I was like, are you kidding me? This is crazy looking. It's interesting to see that everybody's sort of fighting for the other team's market, to bring it in.
Yeah. And I think everyone's still wondering on what the future brings as far as younger riders coming in, because I don't think the passion for riding is as strong as it was when I was younger, and maybe when, you came into the market.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like, what's going to go? What are they going to bite on?
Yeah, my kids have no interest. I mean, my one's been on the back. My other one's like, maybe get around to it. But it's cool. It's like the greatest thing in the world. But
Well, my boys started on dirt bikes, and that's just kind of a entry level into the street market for sure. So it's just something that I don't think is ever going to go away as far as the off-road market. So
yeah, I think that would be great. And I see so many people that have younger kids that are on, 50s and things like that, or even the balance bikes. They're starting them out and they're kind of just getting them hooked.
yeah, exactly. It's
So
a gateway bike.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, and that's what you need in the market, right? I mean, if the Royal Enfield gets you hooked, at that point you're hooked. I mean, it doesn't,
Oh yeah.
you're just selling blood or your liver at that point and just buying new bike parts. That's how they get you.
Exactly.
They get you with the cheap one, and then they just suck you in. And,
that sense of freedom.
And to your point, Harley doesn't have that. They don't really have that cheap bike yet. It's still pretty up there.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to come out with one eventually, though. They're going to have to. Yeah. It seems like their new Sportster was decently priced, a little bit lower. I remember it was like the Sportster S.
Yeah, things can be a monster
too.
Out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that's they're putting a whole new spin on Sportster. Because Sportster used to just be, I mean, I don't know, for whatever reason, it got, kind of marketed as a girl's bike, which it isn't, but they renamed it, sort of, if you will, or rebranded the image, if nothing else. So
exactly.
So the things I always want to ask is, so you live in Colorado, so now we know it's a beer town. So I need to make a site visit. That's it. I'm coming out. But so where do you guys like to ride? I mean, when you have time, and I'm sure that sometimes that's tough, but what's a good ride for you out that way?
Quite honestly, have you ever heard of Estes Park near Rocky Mountain National Park?
No, but the mountain's got to be, that's got to be great.
Yeah. Rocky Mountain National Park is like a place that people plan their vacations to come to from across the nation. So that's an hour and 15 minutes away.
Okay.
And obviously there's nice windy mountain roads to get up there. So that's a good, afternoon ride if you wanted to. And then, I don't know, Colorado's got countless number of roads to hit, just being native of Colorado. So.
Yeah, that's got
definitely mountain roads, canyon, windy roads.
It's got to be fantastic. So do you guys do well? If you have the bobber, what's a good day and riding for that with a smaller bike like that?
As far as like where I would go.
Yeah, well, not so where go, but I mean, like mile wise. Like, are you hardcore on that thing, or?
I mean, I could probably do a few hundred miles.
Okay.
300-400 miles in a day. The only I'm a little bit limited to on that bike. It doesn't get the best gas mileage, so I can't go super far. So I've been making a lot of stops for sure. But that's like the biggest limitation. With it's actually a pretty comfortable bike to ride on. You would look at it and you think, probably not really good for long distance, but you start riding it. It's actually pretty good riding position. You kind of feel a little more forward, but I love it. I don't know. It's a smooth, fun bike to ride around.
That's awesome. So Craig, what's your thing? What kind of riding do you like to do?
Love the vintage. Mm-hmm. I've got a little sport windshield on there. Hot days. Nice. It's like a little cruiser sport bike. Unfortunately, the most miles I put on it is commuting back and forth from work because it's so busy. But, we are putting in some weekend time here at the company. But loving that, trying to get more time on the Roadmaster. That's going to be hopefully September. We've got a big trip planned to the West Coast.
Nice.
Highway 1, Oregon, Washington State. So
beautiful.
So yeah, we're gonna get some prototyping, some testing done. It's gonna be
okay. I like that.
Yeah, try some new designs out and yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's a business trip. It's a business pay trip. We got to do some R&D.
Yeah, just don't tell anybody you work for a motorcycle company. Be fine. Let's start talking to you. Shut up.
Yeah. It's all R&D. Every time we get on the bike, it's R&D. So
that's awesome. Now, so that's great. Now, do you guys do family trips together as well, I assume? Or do we
We've
need
done one
or does
trip, I
Ryan need to get a
think.
big touring bike now?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's maybe the next step, but
Yeah, get a Challenger.
yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know. If I can get on the vintage and let him ride the Roadmaster, maybe you can see how that goes.
Yeah.
There you go. Problem is, once you get on that, you're spoiled. I was so kind of on the fence about buying an Ultra, and then I got it, and I'm like, oh, now that's why people have these. I fully understand now. You take a nap on the thing; it's so comfortable.
So, what's the longest trip that you've taken on the Ultra?
So we did a 13-day trip last year.
Nice.
It was a little over 2,000 miles, and yeah, the GT Shield got a workout and a half, but it was great. We went from upstate New York, across Pennsylvania, up to Niagara Falls. It was a really nice ride.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, and I'm not a highway fan per se. I guess nobody really is that rides a bike, but that bike just eats miles. So it was great because we could do days where we could just crank. And then, there was days that we were just on back roads. So
Yeah.
it's a really comfortable to have that versatility for sure. I want one of these days I'm going to get out to Sturgis, but not this year.
Have you been to Sturgis?
I haven't. Everyone tells me that Professional Monkey was on the show last week or 2 weeks ago, and he's actually at Sturgis, and he's been there since he was a kid, and he was going on and on. I'm like, I don't know. And I like the idea, but I'm not necessarily a crowd person, so I'm like, I don't know. It sounds fun.
We've bended there for about 9 years straight, and we would always just wait till the last day and let everybody kind of make their journey out of town, and then get on the bike and do all the beautiful rides they have up there.
Oh, nice.
And then leave a couple days after that. So we just kind of wait for the crowds to go away, because you're right, it could get a little crazy on some of those roads just because of the volume of bikers.
That's a good question. Now, do you do any other events besides, like you were saying, Sturgis, but do you do like the International Motorcycle Show, any of those events?
The only other event that we've really gotten into was Arizona Bike Week.
Okay.
And it's been a little while since we've done that show. But I don't know. We'll probably sit down and kind of look at the next 2 or 3 years and see what shows we want to get into.
I guess that's hard too, because
Yeah,
it's not exactly.
One.
Yeah, I could see that. Plus, too, that's a lot of product to bring with you. I'm sure that's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a little bit of stress.
I mean, obviously Sturgis, you're going to sell a lot of Harley stuff, and now maybe even Indian, occasional, metric bike, but that Sturgis definitely made it a little bit better because we can kind of narrow it down to almost a brand, as far as inventory goes. But yeah, you're right. 14 days in Sturgis, you got to have a lot of product.
Yeah.
And I think we're usually pretty happy that we broke even typically. So cost wise.
Sure. No, I mean, that's got to be, I could see that, because it sounds all good in theory, but there's a lot of things. So I'm going to put a link to your website, obviously, and then you have you're on social media, you're on Facebook, correct? And
Correct.
then you're on Instagram as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what would be, I guess I'll leave it up to you to end it. So if someone was looking to buy your product, what's the best way to approach it if they have questions? The website, reach out and call?
The best way for that question is whatever they feel comfortable with.
Okay.
I think the key thing to me is that they know that we're manufacturing, we consult, there's people here that want to talk to them. whether it's via email or phone. I mean, it's just going to be a convenience for them. But the key thing is, yes, contact us. We'd be more than happy to,
Sure,
consult them and find the right thing for them. So.
That's great. I mean, your product's fantastic. Like I said, that's what we ran on our trip, and it was great. I mean, it's amazing how big of a pocket of wind you can be in on the highway with that thing. It's fantastic. And the vents are, I don't know that they're unique to you, but that's the first time I had seen them. I'd never seen a vent like that before. So I thought that was a cool option.
Yeah. The vent's definitely not new to the industry, but we were able to bring it to other models that normally didn't have that option. So I think that's probably what's unique about that vent for us. So,
and I thought it was cool too, because it makes it I would have thought I would have had to switch windshield sizes a lot, but you don't, because with the vent in the summertime, it really does cool you off, which I thought was a cool option that you guys offer.
Yeah. And I mean, just again, like we were talking at the beginning of the video, anybody who wants a vent too, just a kind of heads up, it may take a little bit longer to get your windshield. Just a backorder situation. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the industry, though, right?
Yeah, definitely. I got to deal with it.
But definitely worth the wait. Well, guys, thank you so much. Is there anything? So you have they want to look out for what? So you have the Indian market coming out, and then the dual sport market by end of the year, possibly.
Either the end of the year or first part of the next coming season, springtime.
Okay, and then Goldwing as well. That's awesome. Well, that's great, guys. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Oh yeah, we appreciate the opportunity, and always glad to hear from you. And if you got any other videos rolling down the pike, let us know. I'm a subscriber, so.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I would definitely like to make sure, for sure.
Yeah, and thanks again for that video. I mean, that was awesome.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Yeah, very nice.
You guys are a solid company. Like I said, I don't like to get involved in stuff that I don't truly believe in, because I know that that's not to throw people under the bus, but that's sort of become the fad. It's like, oh, I tried this week. Now next week it's another helmet, or it's this or that. I like to stick with it. And I think that, you see it, it's predominant in the videos. It's there. You can't avoid it. It's not like I'm just saying it. So that's awesome. Well, great. So make sure you check out Clearview Windshields and follow their social media. I will put all the links in the video, and as well as the audio podcast. So, gentlemen, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. And have a good night.
Guys.
We'll see you.